Hey, how's
Hey,
it going?
hey, how you
Man, I mean, where do we leave off? I mean, so
Okay,
now,
I got something interesting to tell you. You ready for this?
all right, go ahead.
Is Scott on the other end, or
No, he's not.
okay, he doesn't need to be. He's too fucking negative. I'm sorry. I like Scott too, but this I figure we just talk one on one. Okay.
Okay, but what a lot of what Scott says just totally goes along with your shaming tactic
Oh
videos.
no,
So
you're right. You're right. I'm not disagreeing with that. I totally agree. Scott's highly intelligent for his age. He's very intuitive, which is typical of a lot of young Jewish guys. And, well, I wouldn't say a lot of them, but some of them are really smart. But
Mhm.
he's a pretty sharp guy, but he does overstep his bounds a little bit too much because he doesn't have experience in certain areas. Now, getting about the looks issue, I'm totally 100% agree with you about the looks issue, and I can tell you why. Something happened today that proves this point.
Okay.
Okay, you ready for? Well, let me hear what you have to say, and I'm going to tell you my side of this whole thing.
Well, I was just gonna say that, originally, I really like Scott. He's a very good friend. He's a very nice guy, and
Never met him in person, though, have you?
no, but I mean, I don't know, like, when you get rejected in 1 to 5 seconds, you go to the bars, you go
Right,
to the club, you send your photo out, and you just
right.
so frustrated, and then you use the fake photo of a good-looking guy, and you could just, have the IQ of a fucking monkey,
Right.
so
Right.
and so, I mean, it's ridiculous, it is about looks. I mean, sometimes I even feel that how, how much a girl likes you is directly correlating to how good looking you are. Like,
Well, I want to tell you, I might as well just lay it out with you. I did meet up with a girl that I had been chatting with the last couple of days, or actually only one day, and she was not good looking at all. On a scale of 1 to 10, she was maybe about a 3.5. So I put a fake picture in, like I said, and this girl would not stop. I mean, we talked yesterday, and we had a conversation, and we chatted a little bit, and she would not leave me alone. I mean, we talked even about sex a little bit, but she all day today she kept hounding me this evening about meeting with her. You got to meet with me. You got to meet with me. And so finally, I said, "Fuck it," and I went out there. I didn't leave till like 12 o'clock or so. And what happened is very well documented in my head. We went out to this restaurant. I think it was like a Denny's type of restaurant, and she was not attracted to me. Now, she didn't show it at first, but then we started talking about the dating scene, and I basically told her flat up, I says, it is about looks, isn't it? She goes, well, no, you remember how I told you when we last talked, how if they say to you, you don't look like the guy in the picture, they're saying basically I'm not attracted to you. That's exactly what she said. And this girl was nothing to like write home about. And you're right about it. But see, I am right about it too, because the looks issue, if I would have shown her my picture, and she denied this, I says, if I would have shown you the true picture of me, actually, you would have, there's no way you would have gone out with me. Of course, she denied it. She goes, oh, well, that's not true. I would have done that. She goes, women are not about looks. It's about honesty. This is another, let me tell you what women will do. When women want to deny the looks issue, they'll say, it's not about looks, it's about honesty.
the fact you lied to me or something.
Yes, yes. Here's what they'll say to you. And oh, by the way, I am telling you, I said this to a guy or somebody about it 6 months ago. It's called a weasel tactic that they use. They squirm their way out of this. And what they'll say is, well, if you were super good looking but you lied to me, I would treat you the same way. That's a flat out lie. It is exactly. Now, this girl, I told her, I was very forward with her. I wasn't rude with her. I paid for, I had like a 2-for-1 deal, so I paid for the dinner or whatever. It was like 20-some bucks. Big deal. It was nothing. It was a drop in the hat for me. But and she didn't expect me to buy her anything, but I was just trying to be a gentleman. But I'm glad I went on this date because it proved to me once and for all that if you show your your honest picture on the internet, you will almost never get responses. And I'm right on the fucking money with this whole thing.
And okay, and let me just say this: what you're saying about weasel tactics, it's just you're right on. You're spot on because it's like, first of all, a lot of good-looking guys treat women like fucking total dirt.
Oh,
And
I
yet,
know. You're right about this.
they have no problem with it, and it is about looks. I mean, this is biologically ingrained into women since the beginning of time. It's even in animals. It's called natural selection, eugenics.
Yeah, but it gets in a very. I told her today. I said, and there was a little bit of a distraction, and I'll tell you what pissed me off. There was this black girl, this stupid fucking dumbass black girl, that was sitting in the table behind us. Behind her, and she kept listening to our conversation. And this bitch, every time I said something about the looks issue or about how women are about looks, she kept laughing. And it was clear that she was eavesdropping in on our conversation because she wasn't reading her cell phone or reading the paper or reading the funny section. She was listening to me. And I wanted to say something, but I was in an all-black section of town, and I wasn't going to start some shit. In fact, I probably wouldn't have said anything if she was a white girl. But it was just not it was more or less a situation where even the girl behind me had a big joke about what I was talking about. And one of the things that the girl kept laughing at, I mentioned about how the fact is that a guy who's 5'2" tall will always be rejected by women that are 4'11". I says Mary Lou Retton was 4'8" or 9", and she had like a 6 foot tall husband or something, a real tall husband. I mean, you'll never see. I don't know, maybe her husband's shorter than that, but he looked taller compared to her.
How tall are you, Steve?
Well, I'm 5'8.5". I'm almost about 5'8", 5'8.5". That's my height is not a problem. It's not the issue. It is the looks issue that a lot of women don't find me attractive like they used to. And I'm being honest about this, but let me make this point. Even the girl sitting behind me that was eavesdropping seemed to think it was real funny that I was saying that. And it just dawned on me that the girl I was on the date with, she's like, well, that's not true. That's not true. Women are not about height and all this. And she admitted to some of it, but it was like women are always like weaseling their way out of this shit. And I'm going to tell you something. I think that there's a point, Scott, where you can come to a conclusion to all this, is that looks do matter. And when they use this crap, well, I would have just been the same way if you were dishonest. We know that's all baloney.
Of course. No. Well, Steve, you know what? It's your attitude.
Yeah.
You have this negative attitude, and we can totally see through it.
Yes, we got vibes. I can read your aura.
We can sense vibes, but we can't sense the fucking guys that are going to leave us dead in the dumpster and end up in a fucking abusive relationship. But,
right.
We can sense that vibe.
And the funny thing is about this girl, I know now, and I didn't get a chance to really. I honed in on our conversation. I could almost verbatim remember what she said to me on the phone. She would never leave me alone. She kept pestering the shit out of me. She says, no, I want to meet you tonight. I says, I'm sorry, I can't do it tonight. She goes, don't worry, and all this and that. And I says, listen, we're not going to be able to kiss or hold hands because it's an uncomfortable situation. I want to first, do this and that. And she's like, well, we don't have to. All I want to do is just see you. And she was infatuated with my picture. And that's all the only thing she was infatuated with, because as soon as she saw me and she got to talking to me, she said, you don't look like the guy in the pic. I knew it was all over. And you know what? That's always that weasel tactic they use. Well, if you would have just been honest, I would have accepted you. Bullshit. They do not.
No. What you should have done was you should have tried your original photo. That's what I've done. You use your original photo, and then you use the fake photo of a handsome man. Then you ask them if looks matter. Then when they say no, then you can say, why did you reject me when you saw me?
Well, do you want to know something? That's up in the making. I only have one online personal right now, but I'm going to take out like 4 or 5 of them. And
I've been there, done that.
But yes, but I haven't done it. I've never been one to really have the guts. I want to take out like 5 or 6 of them with different ages, and I want to play this game with the same girl to fuck with her head and see if she does that crap, because I get the sneaking suspicion that these women are going to put their foot in their mouth as soon as I do this. I am not kidding when I say this. I could prove this, that it's about looks. It's like, I'm going to tell you right now, here's the rule about the looks issue when you fake your picture. If they don't say you don't look like the guy in the pic, the game is on. You will probably go home with her that night. If she says but if she says to you, you don't look like the guy in the pic, she's basically saying is that I'm not interested. She is not going home. I'm telling you, it's the truth.
I already know that. I mean, I could have told you this.
Yes, but I'm telling you. I'm telling you what I told you before. I have gone out with girls that I exceeded their expectations from the pic, and they don't say anything about it. And those are the girls that want to fuck you that night. But I'm just saying that you're right. The looks issue, here's the issue. If you put your picture on your profile, you're almost guaranteed to not get any responses. It's almost guaranteed.
Yep. And how old was this girl that you met up with?
She was like 32. But she was short and fat. She weighed about 200 pounds, and she was like a 5'2", and she was nothing to like brag to your friends about. But she was nice, and I don't want to judge her by her looks because, like I said again, she did seem pretty pleasant as far as personality. But again, she was about looks, and I can't deny that fact. I mean, she can fake it all she wants to. Looks matter.
Yeah. And you know what's funny is
and it bothers me that let me make this point also. Another thing that bothers me, like you said, is that why is it fat women always expect to date good-looking guys?
Exactly. You could have told me that. And let me tell you this much: is you see now, do you ever watch a show called Jersey Shore?
No, but I heard it's a good analogy of what we're talking about.
Oh my God, Steve! I can give you so many fucking examples. I can give you an example of there's this one handsome, no homo. But there was a handsome.
Oh, don't say that again. Listen, if you say handsome, I know you're no homo. Don't even worry about that.
But, it's just like I'm in Cali and we all say it out here. Okay, fine. Okay, but there was this handsome guy. His name was Dennis, right?
Yeah.
So then there's this bitch named Snooki. Now let me make this point. Snooki is an ugly fucking bitch, but yet she can have sex with the most attractive men.
Right.
And you know what? And if Snooki was a guy. If that was the male equivalent, like you see, when a woman is fat, she can date a skinny man, no problem. But when a guy is fat,
yes.
She can't date skinny women, no problem.
Yes, but that's social engineering too. That's the girls that watch those shows like Jersey Shore, watch those shows that are being conditioned. That's why ugly women think that they're entitled to good-looking guys because they're taking advantage of the situation they already know there's a shortage of women out there, and they're taking advantage of it by showing ugly women demanding good-looking guys.
Now let me tell you this. Now, Snooki's friend JWoww, she's okay, but
it's one of the reasons why I get disgusted with the Jewish control of our entertainment industry because they are promoting this shit, whether you want to admit it or not. It's all programming to make you so fucking brainwashed, and I'm telling you, it's the truth.
Okay, now let me make my point again. Now, so then, okay, what Snooki does is she's with this handsome guy, Dennis. So Dennis is coming over to have sex with her that night. Right. So then Dennis is like, I'm bringing my friend. And then, even Dennis kind of knew his friend was ugly, but he's like, it's not my fault if you don't like him. So as soon as Marco walks in the door, as soon as he just walks in the door, JWoww takes one look at him, smiles, and runs back to her room. And then Snooki said, you know what? She's talking to the cameras. You know what? He knew what JWoww looked like. And you know what? And he should never have brought him because he's not on her level. Marco is a man grenade. In Jersey Shore terms, that means he's ugly. So what they did was they kicked him out of the house. They didn't even let him stay in the house. So that just proves right there. She took one glance at him, and that dismissed him on sight.
Now, Jersey Shore is not a reality show, is it?
It is a reality show.
But is it like a videotape reality show, or is it like, I mean, are these supposed to be real people living this life?
Yeah, real people. They're not actors. They're fucking... And you know what's funny, Steve? And this is another classic example of one of your points, was there's 3 guys on the Jersey Shore. There's 3 main There's 4 guys, but there's the 3 main players, and then there's just
But
one.
I heard that this is the central theme of the whole show, is that the women always have the advantage. Is that true?
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead.
No, but there's a guy named Mike the Situation. He has a great body of a fucking Adonis. But, okay, and then he has the best body on the show. Then there's Pauly D, whose body is decent. And then there's Vinny, who has a gut. And the guy that the girls gravitate most to is Vinny, and the second most to Pauly D. And every single girl says Mike the Situation is ugly. But get this, the theme of the show, even the women on the show they always preach gorilla juice heads, gorilla juice heads, gorilla juice heads. But yet at the end of the day,
what do you mean gorilla juices? What do you mean? What do you mean?
A gorilla juice head is their terminology of a Guido, is like a gorilla juice head, someone who's pumped up on steroids and who's really, really buff. That's what they claim they want. But yet, Mike the Situation, every single girl that's ever watched that show says Mike the Situation, he's ugly, he's ugly, he's ugly, he's ugly, he's ugly. Like
right, and a good example is the Michael Phelps analogy.
Yeah.
They've always said he's ugly, but he's got the body of an Adonis,
Exactly. And even the girls on there are saying, we want gorilla juice heads, we want gorilla juice heads. But if you look at the guys they're hooking up with, they're no gorilla juice heads.
Okay.
You know,
You're
you know
right.
what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, it is about looks. And you know what? I'm glad we're on to this because I explained, see, this girl doesn't, she was a nice girl in the sense, but I don't think she was that nice because if she was nice, she would have agreed with some of what I said. She seemed to kind of want to evade the subject. And I've said this before. When you meet a girl and you're not her expectations, and she has a weasel way out, she'll say, if you had only told me the truth, things would have been different. That's what they always do. I am telling you, I've had a dozen girls do this where they said, well, show me your picture, and you show it to them. He said, well, if you'd only been honest with me the first time, things would have been different. No, that is a total cop-out is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. And no, and another thing I was gonna say was I recently was on a plastic surgery forum,
Yeah,
and basically, these women are such fucking hypocrites, Steve. They're getting more surgeries than Michael Jackson's. They're getting tummy tucks, breast implants, liposuction, Brazilian butt lifts. And the thing is even these overweight women that want liposuctions, they have someone in their life still, okay? And now check this. Now when an unattractive male gets on that site and says, I'm an unattractive male and I want to know what I can do to enhance my face, the girls pull out shaming tactics galore. Oh, you need confidence. Oh, you need this. Oh, you need to learn how to talk. Oh, you need to dress better. Oh, you need to do this. They just can't flat out admit you're fucking unattractive. That's why you can't get a girlfriend.
And that's why the PUA, the number one reason why PUA sells is because they hover around the idea that looks don't matter. If it wasn't for that one issue, they would never be successful. Because if you look at those PUA seminars, all the guys look like doofuses. And they look like guys that, I hate to be cruel, but I'm telling you, looks matter. And my issue with the whole thing is simply the fact that like this one guy that did this video on YouTube, I actually put him on my site and he got pissed and he had them taken off, but I re-uploaded his videos. He was bitching about Valentine's Day and he says,
oh, was he that really short guy?
Yeah, he was.
Oh, the girls want a tall alpha male. They want a tall alpha male, right? Like him?
Yeah, he looks like that. Well, he looks like a little curly, and he's a nice guy, but he obviously didn't like the TFL message, and I disagree with him because he doesn't want to admit that this problem is a problem. Other than the fact he says, well, these women don't want to date 4'11" women don't want to date a guy my size. Well, you know what? Of course they don't because they got all these 6'" pussy whipped guys that'll more than be willing to date them. And you know what? It just is a depressing situation.
Oh, I've been depressed. I mean, this has really depressed me. And I'm not saying what George Stagini did was right.
Oh yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah,
you can definitely, like Bill Greathouse says, you create your own killers. And
I think that there's a lot of truth to that, and it happens. And unfortunately, we're all. It really boils down to this. This girl, I'm telling you, she was nothing. She was actually less attractive in her picture. She's frumpy looking. But again, this is exactly what I'm talking about. These women act like they're entitled to a better looking guy. And I'm sorry. They pull that old, well, if you just had told me the truth the first time, things would have been different. That is horseshit. They don't want to hear it. I mean, it boils down to that.
And you know what? Another thing is funny is I could give you so many examples of these fucking bitch-ass women. There's a girl named Hot Cheetah, and she was ranting about, I'm at the club, and the ugliest dude will come up to me.
Yeah.
Have you seen that video?
No, I've seen those videos before like that. Yeah, they're just.
Or out of the 90 men that pursued me, not one of them was handsome enough to pursue or something.
Oh, in the black women, it's even worse. I mean, some of these black women are just so nasty. They're just so confrontational. I was almost afraid that black girl was going to get up and start some shit with me. And I am not confrontational, but see, she was listening into my conversation, and I was trying to be. I wasn't being degrading to her women, but I had a feeling that she was going to make some smart ass comment, and because they are a lot of times I've had minorities that are very forward and like that. And
you know what? The thing about black people is they're so superficial. I mean, they'll bring up like the slightest thing was like, oh, you have lighter skin or he has darker skin or they are so obsessed with the skin color. And there's even a group of black people, they're actually the Eastern Africans, like the Ethiopians, Eritreans. And, they like to think that they're superior just because they have some Arabic features or their hair is supposedly a little straighter. I mean, if you asked any Arab person what they think, they would really, look down on them, but that just
Right.
shows what kind of superiority complexes society is
Well,
creating.
it wasn't so. What I'm trying to say is that this woman obviously had a hard time agreeing with what I was saying,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and
Bullshit.
and she was like laughing like it was a joke. And how can people? I don't think people like to hear the truth. I really think that people live in a world like if people don't want to be confronted with inconvenient facts, they will just weasel their way out of it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what women do. Women do, dude. And you know what's even funnier is these same women are fucking dating coaches. So the one gender that doesn't have to do shit, the one gender that can be 50 to 100 pounds overweight and still date a skinny guy, the one gender that sits back and takes their fucking pick and makes requirements higher than the seventh heaven is the same gender giving males advice.
Right.
And
It's a joke. It really is a joke. It is a joke. And again, this girl pulled the same old crap with me today. She said, she goes, you're not a bad looking guy. That's another thing they do. When they're ready to reject you, and of course my feelings weren't hurt because I says I've been down this road before. I know I says I didn't say it quite that way, but when they're ready to reject you, they always pull that you're not such a bad looking guy. You got pretty eyes. You got a nice body. I'm sure there's somebody out there for you. Well, I mean, it's just so fucking obvious. There's a pattern with women. Women claim that men have a pattern. Women have more of a pattern, a consistent pattern than men have. I will tell you that for sure.
And you know what's even funnier is women reject men for the slightest reason. Like women have now women are so picky they can say, oh, white guys only, black guys only. I never seen a man reject a woman because she wasn't a certain race. I mean, and you know what's funny is women always preach that, oh, it's the guys that care about looks. Oh, we have to be good looking. That's a bunch of bullshit.
No, no, not at all.
That's bullshit, dude. Because you can be 50 to 100 pounds overweight and you can still date a guy who isn't overweight. So I don't know. The whole.
Like I said, I told her, I said, I haven't seen any obese couples. What you do is you always see a skinny guy and an obese woman, but you never see the opposite.
Exactly, and it's true. They know it's true. They know what they're doing is wrong. Because, how many times have I went in a chat room and I sent a girl my pic and she didn't reply? So then I come back and I use the fake picture of a male model and
I'm going to tell you something right now. When you talk about this in public, what we're talking about, you could get into a confrontation with some eavesdropper. That situation today with the girl at the restaurant could have easily turned into a confrontation because all that black girl would have had to say was, "Excuse me, let me tell you something. That ain't the way it is. You shit, you boy, you ugly." She could have started some shit. And of course, I'm a white guy in an all black section of town. It's like I'm going to start some shit.
Exactly.
And I'm like, I was in a mostly black section of town. So it would have been the last thing I would have done. But it could have gotten that way. And my whole point is that these subjects are so heated that you can't discuss them. But Winston Wu, the founder of HappierAbroad.com, he made a good point. He says our society has programmed us that we have to just suffer in silence. We're not allowed to complain that there's a problem because in Winston said it. He goes, it's almost like it's a taboo subject where you're not allowed to complain about this dating scene. It's like you're told that you might as well just be anti-Semitic or something. It's crazy.
And exactly. And another thing I was gonna say was if you look at the dating scene. If a woman is short, she'll have no problem getting a guy. But if a guy's short, you'll have a problem getting a girl. If a guy is Asian and short, you could just consider yourself disqualified from the dating scene.
Yeah, and
if a woman is Asian and short, she'll have her pick of any fucking guy.
Well, I know a guy that's in Asia, he's not short Asian guy, but he's about 5'7" maybe. He's an Asian guy. And he's a young, maybe in his mid-20s or early to mid-20s, but I know he doesn't get women, and he always plays it off like, oh, I get women all the time, and women are all over me, and women like me, and I've said a few times, I said, don't Asian guys have it tough? He's like, oh, no, I have it fine, but I know he's lying because
Asian guys have it real tough. There's a guy, he's the Asian Lover Show, and
Oh, did you see that video? Well, there's a lot of videos on YouTube. There was this one, PUA has hit China. And they says with the shortage of women in China now, that there are PUA experts already teaching, and they were speaking in Chinese, and it was almost identical. They had these this PUA dating coaches that would walk up to these nerdy Asian guys and tell them, walk up to that girl and start talking to her, and all these princess Asian these women in Asia, because there's so many more men than women in like China, because they abort all the female fetuses. These women are acting like they're high on their pedestal now.
Oh yeah, I mean, and it's, and one thing, Steve, like one thing I did disagree with you, and the only thing I do disagree with you about was when you did that interview with Winston Wu. Now, I think Happier Abroad's a fucking scam. Like,
well, he's right, and I'll tell you, but I'll get into that. But explain to me what you want to say.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, it just makes no sense. I mean, they're gonna use you for your fucking citizenship. They're gonna spit you right out. They're gonna see this handsome, good-looking guy. They're gonna fuck him.
Yeah. What'll happen is they'll get they'll get their citizenship, and you know what? Even if they divorce you, they're not necessarily looking for a guy. They're looking for citizenship. They'll send all their money back to the Philippines or wherever, because what normally happens with a lot of these foreign women is they're not looking to bang another guy necessarily. They're just looking for the citizenship, but ultimately it boils down to the money issue, and I totally agree.
Yeah, and you should have really called out Winston Wu about that. I mean,
well, no. Can I tell you haven't read his articles? He's living in the Philippines now. He is finally changing his tune. The last 6 months or 4 months, he's been writing articles about how Asian people in the Philippines are all after his money and stuff. And he wrote this article that totally jived with my 2-week trip to the Philippines this past October, November. And he basically said that very rarely do you run into Filipinos that hang around Americans unless they need their money. He goes, most working class Filipinos would choose not to hang around any white person or any American. He goes, but anytime that you run into these poor, destitute Filipino women, all of a sudden you're the maverick, you're the knight in shining armor on the horse, and of course they expect you to pay for everything. You take a Filipina girl out to eat and she brings her whole fucking family, and they want you to pay for it. So yeah, it's about money. There's no doubt.
Yeah, okay, never mind, though. I do agree with you on that then. But yeah, I mean, the looks issue is so frustrating. I mean, when you said 80% of the women date 20% of the men, I could have told you that shit in fucking middle school. I mean, it's the same guys that are going from girl after girl after girl. And
they're willing to wait. They're willing to wait for that guy to be available. That's the way it goes.
Yes, exactly, because it's the power of the pussy, man. I mean, it's... What feminism has just fucking destroyed the dating scene. I mean, back in the 40s and 50s, it wasn't like this.
Of course, yeah.
People got married for who they were. The relationships were a lot healthier. Everything wasn't about sex. It was, it's really fucking disgusting. I mean, I'm so cynical with the dating scene, Steve. I'll go to a bar and I'll just sit there. I won't even holler at any girls anymore.
Well, they won't holler at you because you're not their type. That's how it is,
It's not like they give a fucking flying fuck. I mean, one time an overweight, woman can come up.
You ignore, if you're an ugly guy and you ignore the women, they don't give a shit. But if you're a good-looking guy and you ignore them, they'll be bouncing all over you.
Oh, why aren't you talking? Oh, he's so mysterious. But if you're an ugly guy, he's just creepy.
He's creepy, right? It's creepy when you're not good looking, but you're mysterious when you're good looking,
And just to sum it up, all the positive attributes of a man are automatically rewarded to the good-looking guy, and all the negative attributes of a man are automatically rewarded to the bad-looking guy.
Absolutely. I mean, God, you don't want to know something? This girl personifies, of what I'm talking about is that we can deny this all we want to, but the truth of the matter is that, I mean, this is just the way it is.